Okay, in this video, I'm going to go through some of the stuff from the lab today to make sure we're on the same page. Okay, so I started off, I went ahead and spec'd out my menu just to make sure it's ready to go. Okay, so you see here, you could have done a menu function if you wanted. I just went ahead and put it in main. So I just put in the comments what it needs to do. And here's my def main. Again, I'm going to set x equal to 1, y equal to 1, result equal to 1, and then my choice equal to 1 just to get me inside of this loop. Okay. So again, I'm going to print out the top of the screen, the X value, the Y value, the defaults there, and then the current result, which will come into play later. Then we've got to get the value for X, get the value for Y, swap X and Y, X plus Y, X minus Y, X times Y, X integer divide Y, X raised to the power of Y, and finally exit. Okay. And then we ask for the input there for C. And then I've just spec'd it out at this point just to see what all it's doing here. In fact, I don't need any of this. If it's that, it should just work. I was stumped forever, just to let you know. I did another video. I couldn't figure it out. I had entered, I was calling main twice. So even if I exited, it went back into the main menu and I couldn't figure it out. But it was so far down below where I was looking at the screen, it was really baffling. Okay. It seemed impossible, but it again, as I said before, it did that because I told it to. I put in the main twice for some reason. Okay. Run this, see if this is working. See, it displays that. Okay. And we want to check that it exits on 9, and it does. Okay. Finally, after longer than it should have been. That happens sometimes. Okay. So now let's think about these functions. The entering a value for X and for Y, they both can use the same function. Okay. In any case, it's going to be okay to just say something like a get num function. Okay. That's not going to take any parameters, but it's going to return something. So in this case, I'm going to set X equal to get num. Okay. And then in case 2, I'm going to set Y equal to get num. Okay. And there may be a way to do something different there. I mean, we could, let's do this. Let's send it an X in this case and a Y in this case, trying to make it more generic. Okay, so now when we get down here on this get num, so we're going to define a function called get num. Okay, and it's going to take a string. We're just going to call it V for the variable name. Okay, so what we want to do here, we want to get those results from the user, and then we want to validate it. Okay, we can't validate yet whether it's an integer or not. The individual functions, the plus, the minus, all that, can validate for integers, but here we can't yet. We'll get to that on Friday. Okay, so I'm just going to let's say n is equal to int input enter plus v plus colon space. Okay, so that should either enter X or enter Y. Okay. Once we have that, we're going to do validation in a minute, but for now, let's just return that N. Okay, and see if that works. Okay, so hit my button here. Okay, there we go. So there's the 1, 1, 1. So if I enter a 1, okay, enter X, another space there. Say enter a 4, and you see that, yeah, on the screen there, the 4 is entering. So we've changed the 4. That's good. I can't highlight that, but you see that it's there. So let's try 2. Get my thing to go down there. A 2, and enter Y, let's do a 5. 4 and 5. Okay, 9 to exit. Okay. So I want to fix this to make it look better. That'll fix those issues. Okay. And those are returning okay, but we have to worry about a validation. Okay, so let me give myself some space here. Okay. So now for the validation here, once they've done that, you want to validate before you return. Okay, so I'm going to say while n is less than or equal to 0. That's when we know we're in error state. I can print my error message. Tab over, even from, we're already tabbed over once. I may want to tab over twice to get their attention. Say error. Then I could just say cannot be negative. That'll work. Okay, and then again, ask for the input one more time. That will ensure we don't have any negative numbers. Okay, and then we return. Okay, so this function doesn't really have a precondition because we're just taking in a string that we don't really care about. Okay, but it does have a post condition. Okay, well, I guess it does have a precondition. Now we have a variable here. So we want to make sure that this is, we can say is instance v of str. Okay, so if not this, if not is instance v of a string, okay, then we're going to return -99, which we're going to take to mean there's a problem. Okay. So in fact, we can up here in this result. So let's say if result is not equal to -99, we're going to print this. Else, we're going to print that with the word error. Okay, so if that ever comes back. Okay, so that should still work. Let's see. Okay, so we're going to do a 1. If I enter a -3, it's going to keep making me do that. Okay. Oh yeah, and there's no way in our code for that. This is not going to generate that. That's okay. We've got a 1 there, which we had a 1. Let's do it again with a 2, and let's do a 2 with a 3. Now we have the 2 with a 3. We're there. Okay. So that all should be okay. Okay. So the next thing we have to worry about. So we've got the get the X, to get Y, they're tested, they're working. Okay. So the next thing is going to be the swap. And I think this swap is really cool. So I told some of you in class how this works. We're going to create a swap function. It's going to swap X and Y. Okay. It takes X and Y, but it's also going to return X and Y. So I have to say X comma Y is equal to swap XY. Okay. And then my swap function is super simple. And I think kind of crafty. I think it's clever. We're going to swap XY. All we're going to do is return Y X. So that's going to cross them. Okay. That's it. See if it works. Again, we don't have to worry about anything else. We're not going to introduce any errors there. Okay, so let's take 1 to 2 and 2 to 3. Okay, so now we're at 2, 3. Let's do the 3 to swap. Now we get 3, 2. Okay, we're done, which is good. Okay. I also want to go ahead while I'm here and create clear screen function, which is just going to do, let's say for C in range, I don't know how big it needs to be. 100 is certainly big enough. Okay, so now every time before we print any of this stuff. So back up to here, we'll make a call, clear screen. Okay, let's see if that fixes things, makes things a little better. Okay, yep, that works. Go to 1, make it a 2. That's too many, so we'll probably need to trim that down. Takes a while. 3 switches the 1 and the 2 around, and that's good. Good. Okay. So that's too big. So let's go over here and let's try. You can play around with your particular screen to see how that works. Okay, now let's go on and look at the next thing here. Okay. So with 4, we're going to get the addition. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create a function. I'm going to say result is equal to add x and y. Okay. So I can now go down here and start creating this function. Okay. So it's going to be an add function. It's going to have an x and y coming in. Okay. Before we do anything, I think about preconditions. Again, this program or this function may be called from some other program. Okay, so we got to check it no matter what. Okay. So the preconditions, there are two. They have to be integers, okay, and they both have to be greater than or equal to 0. Okay, even though we're checking it somewhere else, you can't check it too many times. Okay, so here I'm going to say is instance. So again, if is instance x int, or sorry, I want to not. If it's not the case that x is an int, or not the case that y is an int, either one is not an int, somehow broke through our defenses, okay, we're going to return that -99. That deals with the first precondition, okay? The other one we have here is if x is less than or equal to 0, or y is less than or equal to 0. We're also going to return the -9. Okay, so those are our preconditions. Okay, it's really getting my let's move it over here. Okay, we should have calling main down here somewhere. Yeah, there's my main. Okay, so that's our precondition. So now we can go ahead. We can't just return that because we're going to have to do some post conditions. So let's do the calculations. We're going to let sum equal to x plus y. Okay. Now we have our post condition before we return. And if they're both positive integers, that we can say here, if s is less than x or s is less than y, then we've got trouble. So we're going to return that -99. We probably want some error messages, but you get the idea. Okay. So because since they're both positive numbers, if you add them together, they're going to be bigger than either of the two. Okay. So we can see if this works. Okay. That still is awfully big on that jump. We'll have to adjust that. Okay, so for 1, we'll enter a 2. And for y, we want to enter a 3. So we've got 2 and a 3. Okay. And now when I do the 4, my result is none. And that's because I always forget to do this. I didn't return. None means nothing came back. There's nothing to print. Okay. It expected something, it didn't do anything. It should give me an error, but it didn't. Okay. So it's because here I did all this, but I didn't do my return s. Okay, so now let's go ahead. Yeah, I thought that would have been kind of a good number. Let's try 20, see what 20 does. I could make my screen smaller. It would make it a little easier. We get the idea. That's not quite enough, but it gives us enough room. We'll just leave it at that. So x is 2. It's like y is 3. Okay, let's swap them just for good measure. There's 3 and 2. And let's do the 4, and we get the result is 5. Okay, looks good. No problem. Okay. The others are going to be similar. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at, we can do this number 7. 7 could be interesting. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and copy all of this to make my divide, or my I divide, since it's integer division. Okay. So I'm going to call this I divide. Okay. These both still need to be integers, so I'm going to leave that there. Okay. So in this case, if x is less than or equal to 0, okay, we're still going to be okay. Okay, we don't have to worry about that either, right? I was thinking we had to worry about division by 0, but we don't. We're testing already. Y can't be 0. Okay, so then we can just do the results there. okay? And then this S, the post condition, it's going to be greater than 0, but that's about all we know. Not much else we can do. Sorry, so if it's less than 0, we're going to have something wrong with our calculation. Okay, so now we can go up here, and I believe that was the 7. Is that right? 7, yeah. So under 7, say here, result is equal to divide x, y. Okay, on this, we did everything correctly. I can set x being equal to 6, let's say, and I can set y being equal to 2. Okay, I got 6 and 2 there. So if I do the 7, I get the result being 3. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Okay, looks like it works. Okay, and the others I think are fairly straightforward. Again, we can argue that x times y, they're both going to be bigger than y. Okay, x minus y, it could be anything. It could be 0. It can't be less than 0, so you have to worry about that. Okay, and then just to show that how this works, I need to import math. We'll go ahead and do 8 as well. So up here at the very beginning, it could be after the comments, and these comments need to be more in depth. If I import math here, okay, then under 8, I don't know that we need a function here necessarily. We could, but I could just say, since it's pretty simple, result is equal to math.power x, y. Okay. And that's probably okay on that one liner. I mean, I probably, nah, I don't like it. I probably should do it the right way. Let's see. So I'm going to call this POW, make it be confused, so it's going to call it power. Should be okay. Let's do it the right way. No, we're not. I'll tell you why we're not. And I tell you why it's okay. I've talked myself out of it. It's because the math.power is a function that has been tested. So we can trust that it's going to work out. So I can say math.power result equal math.power x, y. Yep, talk myself back into that. Okay, so let's run this one, see if that one, how that works. Okay, so let's enter for x, let's enter a 2. And then for y, let's enter a 3. Okay, and then if I do the x raised to the power of y, it blows up. Oh, because I didn't change it back. It's POW, not power. Okay, let's run it again. Let's fix our cleaning a little bit. Let's do 25. Wish there was a better way, but I don't know that there is. There probably is to the OS, but yeah, we're closer. So if x is 2 and y is 3, okay, then the 8 should give us correctly the 8.0. Notice that automatically returns that as a float, which we don't want. We don't want our results to be floats. So we would need to go back into here, back where we're doing this, up here, and we should be able to put an int around that. Okay, so if we run this now, okay, so for x, we enter a 2. For y, I'm going to enter a 3. I'm going to do an 8. 8 is my result. I'm going to swap those. Do an 8 again. My result is now 9. Okay. And now I can exit. Okay. This is not a great calculator. We don't know where the results are coming from and all that, but you know, we may be able to work that around differently somehow, but that's the basic idea. I mostly wanted us to be thinking about passing those variables back and forth between the functions. And I wanted us to be thinking about the preconditions and the postconditions for our functions. Okay. So if you have questions on any of this stuff, make sure you let me know. We can talk about it tomorrow in class. And if not, we're going to start files tomorrow. So it's probably worth your effort to go ahead and look through chapter or the first two sections of chapter 6 before class.